Hello, my name is Khalid Akilomam, and I'm presenting together with my group members Muhammad Rahman Darmawan and Fania Permana. Today, we are going to present our journal entitled Teachers' Perception Towards Communicative Language Testing in Indonesian High School. I will explain it for the slide 1 until the slide 3. Okay, the first slide 1 is the background. Communicative Language Test Design or CLT has become very popular in English education, and Communicative Language Test Design or CLT has become increasingly popular in English language education because it focuses on the student ability to communicate in a real life situation rather than just mastering grammar rules. However, in a practice, many teachers still find it challenging to design an authentic communicative test task that truly measures student communicative competence. As a result, most language tests focus more on grammatical accuracy than on real communication. This condition showed that there is still a gap between the goals of CLT and its actual implementation in the classroom. For the slide 2, problem statements. Teacher use communicative methods in teaching, but tests still emphasize grammar and structure. Moving on to problem statement, even though many teachers have already applied communicative methods in their teaching process, most of the tests they still focus heavily on grammar and structure. This creates a mismatch between what's taught in the class and what's being tested. Consequently, it becomes difficult to accurately measure students' real communicative competence. In other words, the tests do not fully reflect students' ability to use a language meaningful real-life communication. Slide 3, Problem Identification. The gap between theory and practice. In this part, I would like to identify the specific problem of this research, which is the gap between theory and practice. Although communicative language teaching has been widely implemented in the classrooms, many teachers still find it difficult to apply this principle in assessment. Most tests still emphasize grammar and vocabulary rather than communicative skills. This situation leads to a gap between what is taught communicatively in a class and what is formally assessed. As a result, student real communicative competence is often not properly measured in the current testing practice. Therefore, this study aims to explore how teachers perceive and deal with this issue in their own teaching context.
I am Muhammad Rahman Darmawan. I will continue the next slide. There is previous studies. Leo et al. 2023 CLT aims to assess learners' ability to use language appropriately in real-life communication and authentic language use in the classroom. And from Setiawan and Wulandari at 2023, CLT integrates the 4 language skills. There are listening, speaking, reading, and writing, holistically in teaching and assessment. And last, from Kurniatila at 2022, investigate how English teachers at the secondary level implemented CLT during the pandemic era. The findings revealed that while teachers understood the value of communicative language testing, many still preferred traditional written or multiple choice assessment due to time constraints, large class size, and lack of training. Now, the next slide is purpose of the study or research focus. From the research purpose, Research purpose is to explore teachers' perception toward communicative language testing or CLT in Indonesian high school. And now from the research focus, the first is to identify teachers' to beliefs, understanding, and challenges in implementing of CLT. And the second, to examine how this perception influenced the successful implementation of communicative assessment in the EFL classroom. Now, the next slide is concept of communicative language testing or CLT. CLT views language as a tool for real communication, not just grammar and rules. According to Bachman at 1990, it measures communicative competence, which included linguistic, social-linguistic, and pragmatic skills. The focus is on how learners use language meaningful in authentic situation. Okay, that's all from me. The next slide will be presentation with my friend. Her name is Keisha.
Teacher perception and implementation. In this section, I would like to explain about teacher perception and implementation of CLT. According to Suherdi 2019, the application of CLT is strongly influenced by teachers' belief and attitude toward this approach. Many teachers face challenges such as limited teaching time, large class sizes, and a lack of specific training. Furthermore, Setiawan and Wulandari 2023 found that although most teachers appreciate the value of CLT, they still express concern about its particularity and fairness in assessment. This aligned with the findings of my research, where several teachers I interviewed mentioned that they struggle to fully implement CLT due to those same factors. Next is CLT in Indonesian context. CLT is actually promoted in the national curriculum as communicative approach to English teaching. However, in practice, many teachers still rely on traditional forms of testing such as multiple choice and gut feeling tests. Kurniatila 2022 mentioned that large class sizes, time limitation, and insufficient training are the main obstacle to implementation. My study also found similar issues. Several teachers stated that they have never received proper training on how to design communicative test tasks. So they tend to use traditional inform that are easier to apply. And the last one is research gap and purpose. From the previous point, we can see that even though CLT has been introduced for quite some time, there are still very few studies that explore teachers' personal perception of CLT in the Indonesian context. Therefore, these research aim to fill that gap by examining teachers' belief, the challenges they face, and how their perception influence the implementation of communicative assessment in classroom. The goal is to gain a deeper understanding of whether teacher perception acts as a super factor of as a barrier to the implementation of CLT in Indonesian high.
Okay, let's continue to part 2. Case study language assessment using C-test. Text 1 original version 93 words the importance of communication in language learning. Good morning. Good communication skills are essential in learning a language. Students who often practice speaking and listening improve faster than those who only study grammar rules in the classroom. Teachers should encourage interaction, group discussion, and pair work. Communicative activities help learners use English naturally and confidently. When students use English to express their own ideas, they develop not only fluency but also motivation. Therefore, communication should always be at the heart of every language learning process. For the text number one, CITES version, good communications. Uh, Good communication skills are essential in learning a language. And for the next example is student who often practice speaking and listening improve faster than those who only study grammar rules. Okay, original version 8080 word topic challenge in communicative language testing or CLT. Communicative language testing aims to measure how well students can use language in real-life situations. However, many teachers still struggle to design tasks that reflect authentic communication. Some tasks still focus on grammar and vocabulary rather than meaning. Teachers also need training to create communicative assessment tasks. Despite the challenge, CLT remains important because it helps measure the real communicative competence that students need to use English effectively in daily life. Text number 2, CITES version. Communicative language testing aims to measure how well students can use language in real situations. For another second example is some tests still focus too much on grammar and vocabulary rather than meaning. And type of response scores explanation. Fully correct word 1 point. The restored words completely correct in both spelling and meaning. Partially correct words 0.5 point. The word shows correct meaning but contains minor spelling or grammatical error. Incorrect or blank 0 point. The word is incorrect, unrelated, or left unanswered. Total score each blank equals 1 item. Total blanks equal 50. Maximum scores is 15 points. For next slide will be read by Rahman Darmawan.
Okay, I will continue explanation for part 2. There are examples of scoring. If there are 50 blanks and student answers 40 words correctly, 40 times 1 equals 40. 5 words partially correct, 5 times 0.5 equals 2.5. The total score 42.5 divided by 50 times 100 equals 85%. The next slide, language proficiency skills. After scoring, students are categorized into proficiency levels to interpret their communicative competence. The next slide, score range proficiency level interpretation. 90 until 100% advanced excellent understanding of grammar, vocabulary, and context. Can restore words accurately and use language meaningfully. 75 until 89% upper intermediate good mastery of grammar and comprehension, capable of interpreting most context correctly. 60 until 74% intermediate basic understanding of grammar and vocabulary. Some contextual errors remain. 40 until 59 Percent lower intermediate frequent grammatical and lexical errors. Partial understanding of context below 40% beginner, weak control of grammar and limited comprehension of text meaning. The next slide, justification of text selection. The two selected texts focus on communication and language testing, directly relating to the research topic, teachers' perception toward communicative language testing in Indonesia high schools. They were chosen because they first reflect real classroom context in CLT implementation, second use intermediate level vocabulary and grammar suitable for high school students, the third promote context-based comprehension rather than rote memorization. The last one provide authentic materials for testing integrated skill or grammar, vocabulary, and meaning. The next slide, text 1, focus on communication as the central element of language learning, highlighting how interaction builds fluency and confidence. And the text 2 discuss teachers' struggles and training needs in designing communicative assessment, making it relevant for the research topic. That's all my presentation, and the next slide will be presented by my friend. Her name is Keisha. Thank you.
Okay, next, benefit of implementing the CTES. The CTES provide a more reliable and practical method to assess communicative competence than traditional form of language testing. It integrates linguistic accuracy with contextual understanding. Next, 1. Compare with closed tests. Limitation, random deletion break coherence, C-test range, systematic deletion keep text logical and complete. 2. Compare with multiple choice tests. Limitation, promotes quizzing and recognition only. C-test range requires active recall and language reconstructions. 3. Compare with essay writing. Limitation, time-consuming and subjective scoring. C-test range, objective, affection, and still measure case scale. 4. Compare with grammar test. Limitation, text isolated from without text. Context, C-test range, evaluate grammar in meaningful communication. And next, the C-test measured not only form but also communicative function, aligning with CLT principle. Integrate multiple skill, test grammar, vocabulary, and comparison at once. Reflect real communication. Encourage contextual inference like real-life use. Ensure fairness. Each blank has one correct linguistic form. Save time, quick to administer and score. Show true competence. Reveal meaningful language use. As a teacher, identify student problem area. Elite with CLT. Focus on meaning and context, not rote grammar. That's all for our presentation. Thank you.